Stem cells are very specific. They're like architects, okay? In the mainstream education, in the mainstream, I guess, advertising, they tell kind of a fairy tale story about stem cells finding a crack in your meniscus in your knee, wiggling their way inside there, replicating themselves and making like a patch or a bridge of new tissue. I need you to think about this occurring, because all kinds of people call me up all the time and they ask me what kind of live cells, how many numbers of mesenchymal cells, how many numbers of. Okay, number one, you never want to put anybody else's live cell into your body. Live cells, mesenchymal cells, they have DNA in them that's not yours, and that DNA doesn't get incorporated into you. So that fairy tale I told initially about that stem cell, your twin's bone marrow, having a cell fit into the crack in your meniscus, replicating itself, making a patch, that doesn't happen. If that did happen, you'd have a rejection reaction every day for the rest of your life. I need you to understand that. Your cells have multiple identifiers of you and not you. You and not you are identified by the entire membrane. All the proteins on the membrane are very specific, like a fingerprint. That's called HLA. HLA is a surface marker. As well, inside the cells, you have DNA, and that DNA expresses itself in multiple ways that's easily identified by your immune system or your white blood cells. So if I inject live cells, somebody else's stem cells, bone marrow, God forbid, fetal tissue, those cells are going to hear your stem cells. Your stem cells are architects. Those architects, they need workers, tools, and materials to fix the area that they already have perfect plans for. Your DNA doesn't mess up. There aren't DNA genes that turn on and turn off and then catastrophes happen. When something goes wrong with the expression of your DNA, that cell is immediately supposed to die. That process is called apoptosis. When you have a cell that's not functioning right, it'll release a substance like hypochlorous acid from within that'll trigger the cell itself to actually function right or to die off and let a new one replace it, which is regeneration of tissue. So your stem cells, like architects, if they don't have the workers, tools, and materials that they need to make the scaffolding right, they get upset and they yell. They yell, things get done. Blood vessels dilate. Blood comes into the area at a higher rate. Nutrients get into the area at a higher rate. You're more likely to actually wash away junk that shouldn't be there with an increased flow. So say I take somebody's bone marrow, a twin, a cousin of yours, and I inject that into your knee. And your knee, we understand the meniscus is torn. It's releasing inflammatory chemicals. The first thing that those live cells do inside your body is they hear the message and they formulate a group of workers, tools, and materials in a packet that's called exosome. They bud that packet off, they release it in response to the crying stem cell or the crying architect that's asking for help. Those workers, tools, and materials instantly cause the recipient's stem cells to stop yelling. I've got workers, tools, and materials. This is wonderful. Let's start working. However, day 3, day 5, you got an immune system. That immune system, let's just say it's full of white blood cells, that's treating cancer, an infection, or a disease, kind of like firefighters at a brush fire. And they're keeping it at bay, and all of a sudden a whistle blows, and it says, trespassers in the left knee. All of a sudden, those cells and the entire attention of your immune system goes to get the trespassers out, leaving the forest fire to burn. You understand the analogy? Not only is it fighting foreign material, after a little while, your immune system realizes that it's actually fighting human DNA. And guess what else is made of human DNA? The recipient is, or you are. If you give enough living cells with somebody else's DNA into your body, you're going to create an immune system collapse, or you're going to have an immunocompromised or an autoimmune disease. That it seems like every other commercial on TV is about that. Very specifically, the only way that I treat regenerative tissue or tissue that I need to regenerate is by just using exosome, but I use very specific exosome. I like to use exosome from amniotic fluid, and those cells have to actually be broken and run through filters, so there's no DNA and there's no membrane in there, and all you have is basically stem cell juice analogous to orange juice. That's just workers, tools, and materials. And if you harvest it in a healthy, moral way, you're getting them from C-sections from babies that are born with APGAR scores of 9 and 10, which means they're pink, they're happy, they're reactive, they're healthy. This kind of a situation is what you need in order to give your architects the workers, tools, and materials that they need to fix that job. As soon as you inject those into the area, the architects stop yelling and they get to work. And if there isn't a rejection for the immune system, it doesn't even pay attention to what's going on. It allows you to heal. There is a little bit of inflammation because inflammation is required, but you're quelling the inflammation by answering it with the workers, tools, and materials in the form of exosome.